Okay, keep going. Sorry.
All right. So my next question is about the first five books. I mean, I haven't talked about Genesis, but more like now, like Bible history. So I've heard about an argument that basically says that it's an argument that says that historical figures, well, biblical figures such as Isaac and Jacob and Abraham don't exist because we don't have archaeological evidence for them. So is that true?
So when it comes to biblical figures, there's a maximalist position and a minimalist position.
Okay.
The minimalist position says we accept nothing in the Old Testament unless there's external archaeological support for it.
Okay.
The maximalist position says, no, we trust it, even if there's not external corroborative support. Well, it's hard to find direct external archaeological support for these events 4,000 years ago when you ask the question, what kind of evidence should we expect for these kind of patriarchs in the way the Bible describes them?
Okay.
So for me, I think Jesus is the Son of God. I think he's been passed reliably, and he speaks about these figures as if they're historical figures.
Okay.
So if Jesus is God and we have his word and he describes them, in one sense, that's good enough for me.
Mhm.
But then, when we do go to the archaeological record, what we find is evidence that's at least consistent with a biblical account, but doesn't require it and force it.
Okay.
So things like the cost of a slave for Joseph, 110 pieces of silver,
Mhm.
matches up really nicely in what we know independently about the cost of a slave during that time.
Okay.
We have evidence for the gate that is described. I saw it with my own eyes in northern Israel that Abraham would have walked through. Now, we can't prove that he walked through it, but the description matches the archaeological record of the time. So I think, being honest, we can say we have a literary record. We have reason as a whole to trust this literary record. And the archaeological record tells us as a whole that this very well could be true, doesn't rule it out, and offers some support for their existence.